Never underestimate an INFJ. Here's what people always miss. If you've ever met someone quiet, observant, strangely intense, and somehow 5 steps ahead of everyone else in the room, you may have met an INFJ. And if you did, there's a good chance you underestimated them. A lot of people do. They mistake their silence for weakness, their kindness for softness, their privacy for insecurity, their patience for passivity. Big mistake. Because underneath that calm exterior is one of the most complex, perceptive, and quietly powerful personality types out there. Let's talk about why you should never underestimate an INFJ. 1. They see what others completely miss. INFJs don't just look at the world. They read it. While most people focus on what's being said, INFJs are watching tone shifts, micro-expressions, body language, emotional undercurrents, unspoken tensions in the room. They're not just hearing your words, they're mapping your inner state. You might think you're hiding how you feel. You might think your smile is convincing. You might think no one noticed that weird pause in your voice. The INFJ noticed. They are pattern recognition machines when it comes to people. Over time, they build incredibly accurate internal models of how others think, react, and evolve. They often know when a relationship is fading before anyone says it, when someone is about to make a self-destructive choice, when a good idea is going to collapse later. Not because they're psychic, but because their intuition connects dots other people don't even realize are there. Underestimate that, and you'll be shocked when the INFJ calmly says, "I had a feeling this would happen." And they're right. Again. 2. Their silence is not emptiness, it's processing power. INFJs are often quiet, especially in groups. That leads people to assume they don't have strong opinions. They're shy or socially incapable. They're just going with the flow. Nope. While others are talking, INFJs are analyzing motivations, predicting outcomes, noticing inconsistencies, evaluating emotional dynamics. They don't speak just to fill space. They speak when they have something meaningful, accurate, or impactful to say. And when they finally do speak, the room tends to go quiet, because what comes out is usually deeply insightful, emotionally precise, uncomfortably accurate. They may not dominate conversations, but when they choose to contribute, they often shift the entire direction of the discussion. Underestimate the quiet one in the corner, and you may miss the sharpest mind in the room. 3. They are emotionally strong in a way most people don't understand. INFJs feel deeply, that part is true. But here's what people get wrong. They assume deep feeling equals emotional fragility. Actually, INFJs often develop exceptional emotional endurance. Why? Because from a young age, many INFJs absorb other people's emotions, feel responsible for others' well-being, try to make sense of complex emotional situations. They get thrown into emotional depth early in life. Over time, they build the ability to sit with pain without running from it, support others through crisis, process grief, betrayal, and confusion with surprising resilience. They might cry. They might retreat for a while. They might need space to recharge. But don't confuse that with weakness. INFJs can carry emotional weight that would crush people who claim to be stronger. They bend. They feel. They process. And then they rise with more wisdom than before. 4. They remember everything that matters. INFJs may forget where they left their keys, but they will remember that offhand comment you made 3 years ago, how someone made their friend feel in a vulnerable moment, the exact tone you used when you were pretending to be joking. Not because they're petty, because they catalog emotional data. They track patterns in how people treat others. Over time, this creates a very clear internal file on each person. Who is safe? Who is selfish? Who is growing? Who is pretending? So when an INFJ finally changes how they treat you, it's rarely sudden. It's the result of months or years of observation. You might think that came out of nowhere. To them, it was a long time coming. 5. They are idealists, but not naive. INFJs believe in meaningful relationships, integrity, personal growth, making the world better, even in small ways. This can make them seem dreamy or overly idealistic. But here's the twist. INFJs are also painfully aware of how flawed people and systems can be. They don't ignore darkness. They study it. They often understand manipulation tactics, emotional immaturity, toxic relationship cycles, power dynamics in groups. They believe in good, while fully understanding evil. That combination makes them incredibly hard to fool. They might hope someone will rise to their potential, but they are rarely blind to who that person currently is. Underestimate their realism just because they're kind, and you might be surprised when they see right through you. 6. They play the long game. INFJs are future-oriented thinkers. They're always asking, where is this leading? What will this become in 5 years? How will this choice affect people long-term? While others chase quick wins or short-term validation, INFJs are quietly building skills, knowledge, meaningful connections, personal understanding. They may not look flashy at first. They may not be the loudest or most obviously ambitious. But 10 years later, they're often in places that make people say, wait, how did they get there? Simple. They were thinking long-term while everyone else was distracted by the now. 7. They can read motives with unsettling accuracy. You can lie to an INFJ, but it's very hard to convince them. They don't just listen to what you say. They analyze why you're saying it, what you gain from saying it, what emotion you're trying to provoke, what you're avoiding saying. They're highly attuned to hidden agendas, especially in emotional or social situations. If something feels off, they don't brush it aside. They sit with that feeling, examine it, and wait for more data. And when the truth eventually comes out, they're rarely surprised. Underestimate this, and you might think you're fooling them, when in reality, they're just quietly gathering information. 8. They are selective, not antisocial. INFJs often have small circles, not because they can't make friends, because they refuse shallow connections. They crave depth, authenticity, emotional honesty, intellectual stimulation. They would rather have 2 people they can truly trust than 200 surface-level connections. This selectiveness makes their loyalty incredibly powerful. If an INFJ lets you into their inner world, it means they've observed you carefully. They trust your character. They see long-term value in the connection. But here's the part people underestimate. If that trust is broken repeatedly, INFJs can shut a door so quietly and so completely that the other person doesn't even realize it's closed, until it's locked. 9. Their kindness has boundaries, and when those boundaries snap, it's final. INFJs are patient. They give chances, then more chances, then benefit of the doubt, then deep conversations, then silent hope that you'll change. But every INFJ has a line. And once someone crosses it too many times, something shifts internally. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's not revenge-driven. It's clarity. They stop trying to fix. They stop explaining. They stop investing. This is often called the INFJ door slam. From the outside, it looks sudden. From the inside, it was the final step after a very long emotional process. Underestimate their limits, and you may lose access to one of the most understanding people you'll ever meet. 10. They transform pain into insight. Many INFJs go through periods of deep loneliness, misunderstanding, or emotional struggle, especially when younger. But here's their hidden superpower. They don't just suffer. They extract meaning from suffering. They analyze their own pain with the same depth they use to understand others. Over time, this creates emotional wisdom, psychological insight, empathy without judgment, the ability to guide others through darkness. That's why INFJs often become counselors, writers, artists, mentors, quiet emotional anchors in their friend groups. They've been to the depths. They know the terrain, and they come back with maps. Never underestimate someone who can turn their worst experiences into tools for growth. 11. They influence people quietly, but powerfully. INFJs rarely try to control rooms through dominance. Their influence works differently. They change people through meaningful one-on-one conversations, asking the right questions, seeing potential others don't see in themselves, offering insight at exactly the right moment. People often walk away from talks with INFJs feeling understood, seen, motivated to grow, strangely changed without knowing why. INFJs plant seeds. They may not stick around to watch them grow, but years later, people often realize, that conversation with them changed my life. That's quiet power. 12. They understand themselves deeply, and that's rare. INFJs spend a lot of time reflecting. They analyze their motives, their fears, their dreams, their contradictions. This self-awareness gives them an internal stability that doesn't always look flashy, but runs deep. They know what matters to them, what drains them, what kind of people they need around them, what kind of life would feel meaningful. So while others may drift with trends or external pressure, INFJs often make choices that align with a deeper internal compass. That's hard to manipulate, hard to distract, hard to derail. 13. They are gentle, but not weak. This might be the biggest misunderstanding of all. INFJs are often soft-spoken, empathetic, and accommodating. But that gentleness is a choice, not a limitation. They are fully capable of cutting ties, speaking hard truths, walking away from situations that violate their values, standing firm when something truly matters. They just don't use force unless it's necessary. Underestimate them because they're kind, and you might one day meet the steel underneath the silk. 14. They see potential and push people toward it. INFJs have a rare gift. They often see who someone could become, not in a delusional way, in a grounded, intuitive, pattern-based way. They'll notice and use talents, self-sabotaging habits, emotional wounds holding someone back, and they gently, or sometimes firmly, nudge people toward growth. This can feel amazing, like someone truly believes in you, but it can also feel uncomfortable, because INFJs don't just validate, they challenge you to evolve. Never underestimate the person who sees both your light and your shadows, and still wants you to become better. 15. When they finally believe in themselves, they're unstoppable. Many INFJs spend years doubting themselves. Am I too sensitive? Am I overthinking? Why do I feel so different? But when an INFJ reaches a point of self-acceptance, when they realize their depth, intuition, and empathy are strengths, not flaws, something clicks. They stop shrinking. They stop over-explaining. They stop chasing people who don't value them. And that's when their full power shows up. Sharp intuition, emotional intelligence, long-term vision, inner conviction. It's a combination that can build movements, heal people, create art that lasts, or lead with rare integrity. INFJs won't always look powerful. They might look quiet, reserved, soft, lost in thought. But beneath that is a mind that sees layers, a heart that carries worlds, and a will that moves in silence. So if you have an INFJ in your life, value them, listen to them, don't mistake their gentleness for weakness. And if you are an INFJ, stop underestimating yourself, because once you understand your own depth, there's very little in this world you can't learn to navigate. Quiet doesn't mean small, kind doesn't mean fragile, and soft doesn't mean powerless. Never underestimate an INFJ.